Oh, I can't believe it's been 1 year since I took delivery of my Tesla Model 3. I pre-ordered the car in 2016, took delivery of the car in 2018, September 25th, and I have been driving the car almost every day, weekdays and weekends from time to time. We took road trips. Now it's been a year, and I want to talk about things I like about the car, things I don't like about the car, focusing mostly on the advanced Autopilot feature. The car follows lanes, like when the lane marks are clearly marked. When turning or when driving straight, as long as the lane is clearly marked, the car drives really well and follows the lane. So in bumper-to-bumper situation, the car drives really well. It follows the car at front and keeps a distance, mostly the one that's set in the car settings. So in bumper-to-bumper situation, I usually set it to be 1 car distance. Otherwise, it leaves too much space in between the cars. It works day and night. When it was bright outside, it clearly follows the marks. At night, the lights were really bright, and so the car sees the lights very well. The battery works very well too. I have the long-range version. It claims to have 310 miles range. When I charge it to be 95%, battery does show about 305 miles. However, when we were on a road trip, we were driving about 70 to 80 on the highway, and when it was driving very fast because of wind resistance, I feel the battery did not last 300 miles. I think it was roughly around 210 miles range if I was like continuously driving at 70 to 80 miles per hour. Supercharging works very well. The car was able to charge very fast. Hey kitty. Hey kitty. Hi. Oh. Oh, hi. I think it takes about like 20 minutes to charge it to 70% if I recall correctly. I wanted to highlight a couple of things that doesn't work that great. If you're looking to buy a car, it helps to set expectations. Well, if you have a Tesla Model 3 and if you also notice these issues as well. So, what doesn't work very well? When the lanes are not clearly marked, cars tend to start drifting. Especially when the streets are turning, there are times the lane markings are not continuous. The cars tend to go to a different lane when the lane markings are not clear. When it happened the first time, it really surprised me at the time. The car suddenly jerks to the other lane. Fortunately, there was nobody on the other lane, but I was able to correct myself back to my old lane. After the first time, I started to know that that is the spot that the car doesn't work very well. So every time the car drives to that intersection, I remember to take control over the driving wheel. So that is probably the reason why they ask you to keep your hand on the wheel, because it takes really short amount of time to react to certain misdirections. So when car is driving on the highway, it detects not only the car in the front, it also detects the car surrounding Tesla to be environmental aware of the car's position, the other speed, to make emergency brakes or make decisions on how to drive the car. Because the Tesla thinks other cars are misbehaving. For example, when the other car on the different lane was turning slightly, when the distance between my car and the other car is too close and my car thinks the other car is trying to merge, my car would suddenly brake, and it wasn't a very smooth brake. It was like a sudden brake. It wasn't a very pleasant experience, and especially for myself as well as for the car behind me. The guy was probably thinking, what the hell is going on? You're just clearly driving, and why did you have to brake? It feels like it's a bit unsafe in that situation, because in those situations I always look into the back mirror and afraid that if someone would rear-end my car. When there are other cars on the highway in the adjacent lane, the car tells me I should merge right, so I turn on the right signal and the car waits, and it waits. There are times when there were no car to the right of my lane. The car just doesn't move, so I have to disengage the turning signal and turn the turning signal back on again, and the car would start to merge. And when there were cars on the right lane, when I turned on the right signal, maybe the distance wasn't too far away, the car decided to just wait. But clearly, if I were to merge myself into the right side lane, I could just do that very easily, because I could tell by the side mirror there's enough space that I could just merge into the right lane. However, the car did not want to merge to the right lane for some reason. I park much better than the Autopark. I find Autopark only works when other cars on both sides. So the car detects, oh, there's an empty space that it can go into. However, it does not park the car very straight at times, and it parks it very slow, and at times it grinds the tires. It's like dry grinding sound. I'm like, I hate that. So I didn't like the Autopark feature. I almost never ever use it. I used it once to try it, and it just didn't work. So it takes very long time for summon to start to work. So I turn on the summon feature, press on the button on the either move forward or move backward. Like, the car takes maybe 5 to 10 seconds to realize, oh, I should start moving. My driveway has a little bit of an angle, maybe 2-degree angle. The car refused to summon into the garage. Even though I have the garage setting to be the tightest setting possible, the car just doesn't want to go into the garage. Road noise, especially driving on highways, the road noise is quite high. Comparing to my other family car, Honda Odyssey. Honda Odyssey's road noise is much lighter than my Tesla Model 3. Of course, my Tesla Model 3 has the sport version wheels. Maybe that is the reason why, but I find it's very noisy driving in Tesla. It sort of like defeats the purpose of having a quiet engine. Like, the engine sound is really quiet, especially when driving really slow speed. I could hear nothing when driving in the car. However, as soon as you get on highway, the road noise, especially the tire noise, I'm not talking about wind noise, I'm talking about tire noise, is very high. I don't know if there's any way of improving it. I'm purely comparing it to the family car that we have, the Honda Odyssey. So those are the things that doesn't work very well, and I would hope Tesla would improve them. So the next part, I want to talk about features that doesn't work at all. The car is supposed to detect hands on the driving wheel, except it doesn't really detect hands. It detects torques applied on the driving wheel. So oftentimes the car would pop up and say, move the wheel slightly. It knows that my hands are still on the driving wheel, but that's just very annoying. So my tip would be to use the volume scroller to go up and down to tell the car that my hands are still on the driving wheel, because it is very annoying to put some force onto the driving wheel, which sometimes I don't know how much force I'm supposed to put on it. Sometimes when I apply some light force, it still doesn't recognize. I would still have to move the driving wheel quite a bit. On the highway, I kind of like constantly pushes on the side of the driving wheel for it to register, putting my arm's weight onto the driving wheel on one of the side. Which I feel is slightly not safe, because if the autopilot would suddenly disengage, I feel I would move the car suddenly to the left, because I was constantly putting pressure on one side. So the second thing that doesn't work at all, at least for now, is driving in city streets, especially turning on city streets. When I drive to an intersection, I would disengage autopilot, because otherwise it would just go through a red light, or it doesn't stop at the stop sign, or it just doesn't wait for pedestrians. I just have to be very careful at driving city streets. Like I mentioned previously, traffic light notification, the feature is there, but it does not work. When I was driving very close to the yellow light or about to pass the red light, it does not give me any notification. I have the feature turned on, but I never use the auto changing lane feature for the navigation on Autopilot. And the reason being, it's not very well built, and it doesn't recognize my lanes very well, that you would tend to move to different lanes when I don't really want to. So for example, when it knows that I need to get off ramp, it tends to want to stay on the highway and not going into the off ramp lane. And it still happens today. So when I stayed on the off ramp lane, the navigation Autopilot wants me to back onto the main highway. And there are also other cases when I know that I have to get onto a different highway, that the navigation wanted me to stay off the lane. Because the car seats can automatically detect people sitting in the seats, so it should definitely know how many people are in the car to switch on or off the HOV lane feature. It would be nice if Tesla built a feature for that. So yes, I talked about a lot of the features that doesn't work very well, or simply doesn't work, but I still love the car. I love the car for all the good things and all the bad things. I accept Tesla being a fairly new company. They're trying to improve themselves from time to time, and they have fairly frequent software updates, almost a couple times a month. So hopefully some of these issues are fixable by software, and I can't wait for the full driving capability to be released.